Nancy Mace has caused quite a stir in the last week as she is addressing an issue that has plagued far too many of our social and political conversations over the last couple of years, and that is which bathroom should men use and which bathroom should women use? The answer seems quite simple, yet unfortunately is something that is now requiring a resolution in Congress to resolve, and it's causing a whole heap of unhinged backlash from people who are determined to oppose reality. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here, whether this is the first time you have clicked on one of my videos or you are a returning supporter. Please hit that thumbs up button, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel, and also make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So I'm sure that you have heard by now that Nancy Mace is out there on Capitol Hill doing what she was elected to do, which is kicking butt, taking names, and keeping men out of women's bathrooms. Because, while we might be on the verge of World War III, we have to direct our attention to the facilities because we just can't be normal anymore. This whole thing was ignited as someone named Sarah McBride, who used to be Tim McBride, was elected as the first trans person to Congress. And as the country attempts to return to a sense of normalcy with the incoming Trump administration, where dogs are dogs and cats are cats and men are not women and women are not men, that includes reconfirming the boundaries of privacy based on biology that we all agreed upon up until a few years ago, and saying that if you are a man, you have to use the men's bathroom, and if you are a woman, you get to use the women's bathroom. It should be that simple, but these days, things that should be simple are made infinitely more complicated when we have people who think that delusion should be the new norm. So in anticipation for Congressperson McBride to start their new role on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., Nancy Mace introduced a resolution saying, "This is the men's bathroom, this is the women's bathroom. Enjoy." This set off a firestorm in the media as they all ran to the steps of the Capitol building, hoping to get a comment from Representative Mace and get her to elaborate on her views that men and women shouldn't share these private spaces and where she got such ridiculous ideas.
The question is, with your piece of legislation about banning women from using,
100% yes.
My question to you is,
it doesn't go far enough. I'll be filing more bills.
You have said that it was created in response to Congresswoman-elect McBride.
100%. And
should legislation be created targeted at one specific person?
It doesn't mention anyone in the legislation, but
you've said it was aimed at her.
No, I have said it's a result of this. I'm not going to allow biological men into women's private spaces. I will stand in the brink and stand in the way of anyone on the radical left who thinks that it's okay for a penis to be in a women's locker room or a bathroom or a changing room. Hell no. And by the way, I'm getting death threats from men pretending to be women. Why is it that these crazy people, the insanity, the radical left, are willing to kill women over a man's right to be in a women's restroom?
Since then, Mace has faced a whole lot of backlash from death threats online, harassing calls to her office in Congress, and people decorating the halls outside of her office.
So what is this?
This says you can't erase us, Nancy. Well, then you shouldn't try to erase women. I have to say, for any man that wants to be in a woman's restroom, bathroom, dressing room, locker room, absolutely not.
Guys, I am at the airport making my way back home to the low country in South Carolina. I just spoke at an event with a couple hundred people. Some trans lunatic tried to rush the stage and attack me. And he is just making the case for me that we don't want penises in women's spaces. F off. And I just had a woman come up to me and get in my face about it, and I told her to F right off. I'm not going to tolerate it, and I'm going to fight harder and bigger than ever before. I will be the giant you can't take out, and you can't bully me into submission.
Thankfully, she's not backing down, but of course that means the media isn't either. This is a clip of Jen Circleback Psaki trying to minimize the issue in general and making a mockery of anybody who thinks that this is something that is important.
A lot of soul searching right now going on within the Democratic Party, and that's a good thing. But what I worry about is that in the course of all that soul searching, some Democrats might reach the wrong sweeping conclusions. And there are a lot of issues that fall into that bucket. But one in particular that stuck out to me is transgender rights. Republicans spent hundreds of millions of dollars on anti-trans ads this election cycle, including one that showed Vice President Harris talking about government funding for gender reaffirming care for prisoners and detainees. If that sounds like a particularly obscure issue, it is, because it applies to a tiny group of people. And it's also a policy that, by the way, was in place during the first Trump presidency. Another one of the lines that ran over and over again in those ads and throughout right-wing media is this idea that America is faced with a crisis of boys playing in girls' sports. Now, these ads created this perception that the issues of trans kids playing sports was dominating schools across the country, which is completely false. If that were actually an issue at thousands of schools across the country, it would be worthy of a debate. But there are just incredibly few examples of transgender girls playing in youth sports. And when we see those examples, there isn't evidence that these kids are a threat to safety or fairness.
I guess Jen didn't see the recent report out of the UN showing that at least 900 female athletes have lost out on athletic medals and opportunities because of these self-ID laws and policies that have fostered supremacy in trans individuals. Because yes, they still make up a minority of the population, though the consistent indoctrination in public school about being able to pick your gender is aimed at changing that. But even as small of a group as they are right now, make no mistake, when a trans person walks in the room or enters a competition or wants to participate on a girls' team or enter a woman's locker room, their rights are the only rights that matter. There could be 99 women in the room and one man that wants to be a woman, and it's that one man's voice that matters and no one else's. Just ask this young girl who spoke at a recent school board meeting.
Student at Martin Luther King High School, and I run on the cross country team. So I'm constantly affected by these actions that have taken place this season. And I have been around the females and just my team in general who have felt almost silenced to speak out about it because the whole LGBTQ is shoved down our throats, it is put in our face, and we live in a society where it is almost impossible to speak out on it without facing the repercussions of it. And I went myself to have a discussion with the head of or the athletic director when nobody really felt comfortable enough to speak out. And I don't think it's fair, knowing Caitlin and knowing Taylor, to see their spots getting taken away, to see all these things being jeopardized for one person. It feels as though that my school and the school district is choosing to support one person instead of the whole team and the whole school as a total. Like, it's not fair. It's not okay. My teammates getting their spots taken for one person that's choosing to be a girl, it's not okay. And then to see the athletic director turn around and tell my teammates that their shirts that say Save Girls Sports be compared to a swastika, that is not okay. These girls feel silenced, they felt silenced, and when they finally spoke out and did something to go against it and speak out, not directed towards a single person at all, they were completely stabbed in the back by the person that we were told would support us and be able to help us through this. They were said that it was a hate crime, that they were targeting that one person, and that is not the case at all. Taylor and Caitlin are two of the most nice people I've ever met in my life, and to see them having to be told that they're being hateful people is not okay. And it is not okay that I have to be in a position where I'm going to practice and having to see a male in booty shorts and having to see that around me as a 16-year-old girl. I don't find that as a safe environment. I don't at all. And going into locker room and seeing males in there, I don't find that safe. I don't find going to the bathroom safe when there's guys in there. It's not okay.
While morally bankrupt individuals like Jen Psaki and those who are looking at women across the country and mocking their concerns think that what Nancy Mace is doing is about targeting a specific individual, and that these ideas of sex-based rights come from a place of bigotry and hate, which I'm sure Representative Patsy Mink and Birch Bayh, who introduced Title IX as legislation in 1972, would strongly disagree with. It's not about one person in Congress or about a beef that Nancy Mace has with Sarah McBride. This is about young women across the country who are feeling unheard. They're being silenced by the media, by local officials, by school employees, or even their fellow peers who have bought into this poisonous ideology and now believe that women defending their spaces is not about their rights, but about their inability to accept progress. And apparently the answer is to just force them into it and they'll just come around eventually, right? And while we're watching all of these screaming banshees shave their head and yell about the right to get an abortion, if any of these people actually cared about women's rights, they'd actually listen to women. Like this gal.
I wanted to take a minute and say how profoundly grateful I am to Nancy Mace for standing up for women and girls in America. The amount of death threats and rape threats and disgusting comments directed towards women like Nancy, women like us, women like me, who dare to tell these men no. I joke about it all the time. I post them, I read them with, I try and maintain that attitude of go fuck yourselves, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't live with an added level of fear in my life since I started speaking out. And I think that fear is what keeps so many other women from speaking out as well. Women deserve so much better than to be told that we don't exist, that men like Timothy McBride are just as biologically female as we are. It is so refreshing to see a woman in power just unequivocally say no. And I very much hope that her bravery is catching and that more American women start speaking up and saying no. Thank you, Nancy, from the bottom of my heart. We've got your back. And keep holding that line.
This is not a frivolous matter. This is not unimportant. It is not insignificant. What Nancy Mace is doing is reminding girls that their voices matter, that there are people fighting for them, and people who will do everything that they can to keep the worst case scenario from playing out, which is that this does become the new norm, and women are forced to live under the patriarchy with no say in their privacy or their safety, where men have all the rights, whether they're dressed as men or whether they're dressed as women. I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you are subscribed. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.